Welcome to the home of Grand Canyon hiking. This is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters for Canyon and Rim2Rim specific gear and apparel and tons of free resources to help you plan your adventure. Visit us at brightangeloutfitters.com. We exist to help you hike your best hike. Now, let's talk some canyon. The fear of heights. It's ingrained in most of us to a certain extent, but to some, it is downright paralyzing. And imagine trying to overcome it on a Rim2Rim where you'll sometimes face 1,000-foot drop-offs right next to the trail. My name is Brian Special, and this is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Sharlene Hackles lives in Australia and has somehow become Grand Canyon obsessed. It started on a trip to the West Rim in 2009, and this last October, 15 years later, reached new heights when Sharlene, who's 63, was joined by her 65-year-old husband, Danny, and 38-year-old daughter, Ashley, for a full North Kaibab to Bright Angel Rim2Rim. And what an adventure it was, from Sharlene's almost debilitating fear of heights to Danny's unexpected injury. This was a hike full of unexpected twists and turns that would call for a family to come together. This is their story on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Okay, Shar, the first order of business that we need to take care of here is we know how difficult logistics are for planning a Rim2Rim. But I want to tell you, I think we've got a close second, and that is logistics for figuring out how to do a podcast from Arizona with someone who lives in Australia. I mean, we were going back and forth trying to figure out it's Friday this time there, but that's Thursday here. It took us a while, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And luckily on the iPhone, it has world time. That tells you. So you can just go to that. That's my go-to every time I travel. I have to play with world time on the clock. On the iPhone.
And how far apart are we? Let's see. It's 3:15 p.m. on Thursday here in Phoenix, and it is what time there in Australia?
It's 8:15 a.m. on Friday. So we are ahead of you. I hate to say
Yes, you are. In more ways than one, I'm sure. So let's just start there. How does someone in Australia get obsessed with the Grand Canyon and ultimately hiking the Grand Canyon? How'd this all happen?
Oh, gee, that's probably a very long answer, Brian.
That's okay. We got time.
Well, I mean, as a young child, you see lots of things about the Grand Canyon, of course. I think everyone in the world would see that. And to me, it was one of those things, one day I might get to see it if I'm really, really lucky. We didn't start traveling overseas until 2005. We raised 4 kids and, didn't have the money to do that sort of thing. So our first big trip around the world was in 2009, where we visited the Grand Canyon West Rim. And I was just blown away. I was like, I'm teary thinking about it, because and it was my birthday. So it was my 48th birthday. And I remember thinking, I knew it was going to be big, but you don't know from the photos how big it is. And we went to the West Rim and took one of those helicopter flights down to the Colorado River and did a little thing on the Colorado River. And I said to my husband, oh man, I'd love to come back here and raft. I want to raft down the Colorado. That would be just the coolest thing. And I love the water. He doesn't like the water. He gets seasick. So that's not something he was thinking, yeah, that's great. Let's do that. So that sort of planted a bit of a seed. And then we did a few more trips. We came back over to the US 2011 with some family and my daughter and a cousin, her daughter. And we went and I said, look, we've got to go to the South Rim because we've got to go to the real national park. We've got to go into the national park. So, I'd done all the reading by this point on, that you could do back in the day on TripAdvisor, because that was sort of the go-to then. And we went to the South Rim, and we did do a helicopter there as well. I think it might have been Maverick or someone, but we did do a helicopter from there. And I said, it's not kind of the same because you're up so high and you're sort of out so far. It didn't really give you the feel. We went over and checked out the rims and did all the normal touristy stuff at the South Rim. And the view at the South Rim, when you look out, the expanse, I don't know. I just loved the South Rim. I got there and I was like, oh my gosh, It was amazing. And because we did all those, we drove down to the watchtower and we did all those viewing points and we did each one of them. That was a February 2012. So that was snow sort of sitting on the track as you go down Bright Angel. And I could see that trail. And I remember saying to my then daughter, well, she's still my daughter then, yeah, gosh, she'd hate me. I remember saying to her, that's a trail. I can't believe people walk down there. Are they insane? Like, look at it. It's steep. It's switchbacks. It's like, oh my gosh, my worst nightmare. I couldn't even fathom that people could walk down there. Like, I was like, oh, are they insane? You know, we'd gone down in the helicopter and we'd been on the Colorado River. And I looked up and I remember looking up and seeing little specks, you know, and they were helicopters. And I was like, oh, it's so far down. Like, I can't even fathom that people could hike down there. That it just blew me away. And yeah, and at that time I wasn't hiking or doing any abnormal exercise. I mean, I could probably run 8 or 10K if I pushed myself. But yeah, I just couldn't even believe that someone could walk down there. It was just so vast. And yeah.
So when did it enter your mind then that you see this trail, which I assume is Bright Angel, you see this trail, you see this trail and it blows your mind and you don't know how or why anyone would go all the way down there. So when did it get in your mind as a non-hiker at the time that, hey, I'm going to start hiking and I'm going to do it at the Grand Canyon and I'm scared of heights and all this stuff. How does this happen?
Well, that happened in 22. So because we'd been hiking for the I'd been training a little bit to do the wave because it's probably only about 10 mile, you know, spitballing. I can't really remember the exact distance. And I'd been training just to make sure that I could walk that. And it was the December of 22 that we did the wave and that we came to the South Rim. And that's when I looked down from Hoppy Point and I thought because getting to Hoppy Point, as I put in my post on your Facebook page, was horrendous for me. I tried to walk down to the viewing area where there's like a guardrail, and I went to go down the left side, but there's not much of a guardrail there. I think there's one without any wire, maybe a bar, and then there's a section, I think, without a bar, but I couldn't walk down that way, and that's the way my husband would walk, and I was sort of like following him, and I just, oh my God, I can't even recapture how I actually felt. It just overwhelms me. I just was, oh God, sorry. I just break into this horrendous sweat. I get so nauseous. And I think everyone thinks I'm an idiot. Like this is, it just overcomes you. And you just think, my fear is I think what I'm on is going to break. Like the rail will break. I'll slip and I'll just fall. Like I'll just fall to my death. What I'm on is either going to break or I'm just going to catapult over the edge because I'm going to lean a certain way and lose my footing. And not that I'm unsure in footing. It's just that I think I'll just go, you know, and I get it's terrible. It just overcomes. You just can't even, I don't think I can even explain it. So
is it something that you never get over because you've done the hikes now and you've actually done these things and conquered your fears, so to speak, but is it something you truly never conquer?
No, I don't think so. I think it's always there. And I definitely think now, having hiked the Rim to Rim, I know I can do the things that I've put off in all of these years, you know. The things where I've closed my eyes, I might be a bit braver to open my eyes next time because the fear became so bad that, you know, I closed my eyes anywhere I thought that it was going to be scary, and I'd research places where I was going. And if I thought it was going to be too scary, I closed my eyes skiing in New Zealand. We had to go from Queenstown, which is a town in New Zealand, up to a ski field. And I got in the shuttle bus, which is in the town, and I closed my eyes there. So I had to witness none of it. And the motion of the vehicle is enough for me when it did the switchbacks. I almost want to open the door and get out. And that's how I feel when I'm in that situation. If I could open a door and get out, I'd almost open the door and get out. And yeah, so I close my eyes right till I get to destination, and then I open them.
But closing your eyes might work in a vehicle when someone else is driving, hopefully. But on a trail, when you're under your own power, you're not going to be able to close your eyes. So how do you deal with that, especially in the Grand Canyon, where there are certain spots where, I mean, let's face it, there are significant, dangerous drop-offs.
Yeah.
How do you overcome it in a situation like that?
Or how did I overcome it? So what I did when I made the decision at Hoppy Point that day that I think I'm going to have to overcome this fear, how am I going to do it? And I thought, I've got to get down to the bottom of this canyon. And it was in my head, but I didn't voice it. So I stood at the rail and I was crying. And my husband was probably thinking I was a total lunatic. He's used to me, but because it upsets me so much, I just thought I've got to do it. So I got back and it festered and festered and festered. And then I announced it to my family, so I'm going to go and walk the Rim2Rim at the Grand Canyon. And they all went, what? My husband said he'd come. My daughter said, he's probably not going to come, Mum. So I'll train and I'll come with you because you can't go by yourself. And I said, no, I can go by myself. Like I've read people do it solo. I'll be fine. And I think she didn't realize the trail was going to be as much of an actual trail. Anyway, so she started training with us, and that's how we did it. So what I decided I was going to do was exposure therapy because I'd read that worked, and I thought I'd tried hypnotherapy. I knew that didn't work for me. I think it may have mildly worked, but it definitely didn't. I still felt exactly the same. So I decided I'd do exposure therapy. So I watched as many videos.
What is exposure therapy?
Well, I watched as many videos as I could of people that were doing the hike.
Oh, so it's just exposing yourself to it and forcing yourself to watch it. And that's something that would normally be uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable just watching it. Yeah. Just watching someone do something that's on an edge, I can't do that very well either. So I kept watching and kept watching and kept watching. And
you're forcing yourself to do this because it's so uncomfortable. Is that right?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable to watch. I mean, when they're near the edge, originally, that sort of situation, I would turn away or like sort of squint or not really look because, you get nauseous again thinking, oh, they're going to fall. I see, and this is probably weird, but I almost see it happening. So I see the person falling and I go, oh, they're going to fall. And I can almost like I'm premonition. They're going to fall, but they're not going to fall. But I see them falling. So I see myself, if I'm on an edge, the balcony breaks and I fall. It's sort of like that situation. So, yeah, I just kept watching as many YouTube videos as I could, asking as much as I could. And I knew the trail. I knew the whole trail before I went because I'd watched every square inch of the trail. And I just might have a matter. I think it's all mental. I just sort of think your brain or your mind or your mental attitude is what controls everything. I think physically we can all, unless, we've got some other serious issue, we can all sort of get to a place physically, but mentally in everything in life, I try to say to my grandchildren, you control if you're happy, you control if you're sad. Don't let other people control that. That's on you, So you make the decision. And if you've got, problems to solve, you solve your problems. If you've got people there that are, a bit toxic, you clear them out. You don't need them. Your mental attitude is all you need, and you're the one that controls you. You control your future, you control everything you do. And so I thought part of it was, I had to show them that this could be done. Let's cry again. You can overcome things, you can overcome issues that you have. And, there's some issues I know physically, people can't overcome, and I know that. But this sort of thing, I thought, no, I can beat it. You can do anything that you put your mind to if you mentally prepare. And it's like physically prepare. You've got to physically prepare for the canyon. You can't just say tomorrow, I'm going to go hike down the canyon. And, I've been on the couch since I was 30, probably my case. I knew I had to put the training in, and I knew how to sort of start to do that. I knew I'd probably be able to walk the distance, but could I do the elevation and the descent? And yeah, so I did all those as much as I did the mental, and I'd probably say I did the mental more than I did the physical preparation.
But the mental preparation, that's one thing, right? A hugely important part of overcoming your fear of heights, or at least being able to deal with it, the mental part. But I imagine that can only go so far because you're watching from Australia, you're watching YouTube, you're watching all this video, you're doing your exposure therapy by watching this over and over again and mentally getting yourself ready. But when it's game day and you're going up North Kaibab or down South Kaibab, and you come to those sections that you know are going to be coming because you have been watching all these videos. Now there's a physical element to this as well as a mental and emotional element. So how do you overcome that when it's actually time to put everything that you've done into practice?
I think mostly because I was very comfortable getting there. So except I do have to tell you, I had shingles at the end of August and I hiked on the October 3rd. So we left Australia on the 17th of September. So I didn't hike between getting shingles on the 27th of August pretty much to October 3rd, except for a little bit around Moab or, that sort of thing, that we did in the couple of weeks before. So I hadn't hiked in 5 weeks. So I knew that was going to be maybe an issue. But mentally, I felt really comfortable. I was like, I can do this. I know I'm ready. And I just gave myself a good talking to. And I felt really comfortable. I got to the trailhead. I was excited and I was nervous and I was a bit scared because I think that's normal. And if anyone wasn't, they're an idiot because it's not a walk in the park, so to speak, It's not just a walk in the park, and you do have to do your preparation. But I was confident that I'd done it. I was confident I'd done all the physical preparation. I was confident that mentally I could do it. And I kept repeating it, the whole time through. I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to be able to do it. And I must admit the day before, so I wanted to acclimatise to the elevation because I live on the ocean at 0. My backyard floods. So my daughter had gone over in an RV with her husband and children, and we also had an RV. We left ours at the South Rim, and we came around on the shuttle to Kaibab Lodge for the night. And the next morning, my daughter and her husband had gone straight to the North Rim, to the campground. They came down to Kaibab Lodge, picked us up. We spent the day there, and then we had the night at the North Rim Lodge. So we had that few days, and I did get a massive headache the first night we were at North Kaibab. And luckily the lady in the reception there, and I don't know her name, told me to take these, and she sold me something, some sort of medication. I just took it. Must have been an over-the-counter okay drug. Anyway, it did help. The headache went. So I was like, oh, so I did get a bit of altitude sickness, I think. Anyway, and then, so the next morning they picked us up, and, I was confident. I just thought, I've got this. My daughter said when she got to the North Rim the day before, because we were at the South Rim, dropping our RV, she said, Mum, I looked down from Grand Canyon Lodge and thought, how the heck do we get down there? This is crazy. What are we doing? In saying that, once we got to the trailhead that day before we hiked, we went down to Coconino to show the grandkids, where we were going, and they're 5 and 7, and they loved it. And that gave us a really good look. We could see Red Wall Bridge. It is what you see on all the YouTube videos, but we could visualize. She could probably visualize better because she'd never been to the Grand Canyon before. That particular daughter of mine's my eldest one. She'd never been to the Grand Canyon, and I kept sort of forgetting that because this was my 5th time. And I sort of forgot she'd never been and she'd never seen the vastness. So until we walked out of Bright Angel, she'd never seen the South Rim, which just blows me away now thinking about it because I didn't even realize, But so we got there the next morning, and I was really confident. I was scared for the eye of the needle. I knew that was going to come, and that really freaked me out.
What time did you guys start?
We started at 4:45.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you hike in the dark?
Oh, pretty sure Red Wall was daylight. It was twilighting around come out of Supai. We could see light, and I'm pretty sure Red Wall was fine. Yeah, Red Wall was clear. That's right.
That's almost poetic.
What's
Charlotte.
that?
It's almost poetic because you're coming down North Kaibab and you've gone down to Coconino Overlook the day before, so you know what you're walking into.
Yeah.
It's a fairly steep section after Coconino going down to Supai Tunnel, and then a very steep section going from Supai to Red Wall Bridge. But now it's getting light.
I can
and
see.
you cross Red Wall Bridge, right? You cross Red Wall Bridge as it's getting light. And just on the other side of Red Wall Bridge is where the significant drop-offs start. So now you can see everything. So all this exposure therapy and everything that you've done mentally to prepare for this, Now it's time to see if it worked. So what happened? Take us to that moment. Yeah, game time for sure. Hey, want to support the show? You'll find Grand Canyon and Rim2Rim themed apparel and more at brightangeloutfitters.com. While you're there, be sure to check out the Rim2Rim pack, the day pack with front pockets that we designed with the Canyon hiker in mind. It's all at brightangeloutfitters.com. We exist to help you hike your best hike.
When we got to Redwall, I was getting a bit anxious because I knew
I knew what was coming.
I knew what was coming. And, I knew I could see everything. That was pretty apparent. And I kept saying, it's coming. It's coming, like just up over this hill. And where, it'll all begin. And I thought, this is going to be a completely different hike now. Like coming down there, I was okay. It was dark most of the way. And I just was looking at the path in front of me, And this, I thought, oh my God. So I did start to get really anxious, but I told myself I could do it. And the backstory to that is, Brian, and you have to know, is the week before we'd been in Moab and we'd gone to Delicate Arch. Have you ever hiked to Delicate Arch? Well, it's just quite a simple little hike, but you get to a part where, and I'm visualizing it, but you come around a bend like that to get to Delicate Arch, and it's like slick rock and it just goes straight down. It's not that far down, but it's slick rock. And I had stopped there and cried and couldn't go any further. And a man was coming up. And he said, oh my gosh, he said, are you okay? Do you want me to help you? And I said, no, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. And he wasn't going to touch me. He was lovely. And I said, look, and he sort of got past me. And I said, look, I'm so sorry. I just have such a fear. I just can't get past this part of the trail. And he said, oh, it's not far. It's just around that corner. I said, oh, I know that. It's like 30 meters. I couldn't hike. I was stuck to the wall, had my back to the wall with my hands out, like, oh my God. And I was breathing, and I was trying to control my breathing, and I thought, you've got to do this. And tears were rolling down my face. My husband had just kept walking, so he walked ahead. He thought it was fine. And he didn't realize I wasn't even behind him. He's enjoying the view up there, I'm sure. And he's looked back, and he must have realized. And the man kept walking, and he got to the top and apparently said to my husband, are you with the lady down there? And he said, oh, yeah. He said, is she all right? And he goes, no, she's stuck. Anyway, and he looks around the corner, and he goes, if you don't get up here, you can't hike the Grand Canyon rim to rim. And I went, okay. I was so upset. And I said, just give me a minute, I'll be okay. And I just took some really deep breaths and made sure there was no one looking to me, because I was sort of like holding the wall and almost scaling around it like Spider-Man, because I was like, I can't breathe, and I couldn't put my back to it either. I had to sort of look out because of my back to it. I thought I would fall backwards. So I climbed around there and got to the other end, and then sort of froze because where I couldn't walk any further, but that was okay. And I could get down okay. It was a lot better going down, but the getting up there, God. So here's me thinking, okay, I've done all of this. I'm now ready to go around the eye of the needle. How hard can it be? Come on, it's a drop off. Just look into the corner. People say they do it all the time. It's a wide trail. You'll be fine. All those things you hear in the Facebook group, all those things that everyone says. I was like, nah, people with a fear of heights have done this before, and they're going to do it again, and I'm going to do it too. And I'm going to nail it. I'm going to nail it. And I was like, just breathing, really control your breathing. You've got this. And it takes so long. I know I'm going up that hill, and I know it's going to be around the bend, but I'm like, it's a bit further away than I thought. So the anticipation of, I got ramped up a bit early thinking, it's going to be right here. No, it must be the next bit. Oh, it's the next, because, it's a long way. And when I got to it, I just looked down and I was like, because you get a pretty good view before you get there.
Yeah, you do.
And I went, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But how am I even gonna? I was like, anyway, I just kept controlling my breathing, saying you've got this. And I probably walked pretty slow, because I probably walk about 3 miles an hour or 5 kilometers an hour on a good day anyway. Like I'm not racing anywhere, and I never have a time agenda ever for anything. So yeah, I just got there, and I just kept thinking I have to do it. And what really helped, and it sounds really dumb, but my hiking poles, which a total shock to me. But as I was hiking, and I was kind of looking into the corner, where the cliff meets the path, and I was on that side of the path for sure, but having the hiking pole to the left of me almost to secure me so I knew I couldn't fall left, I think it really helped me. And it sounds crazy when I say it out loud, but I think it really helped me and it gave me the confidence. And I got, on the path, you get to that part where it goes a sharp right almost, and there's almost a crack in the ground. And there's almost like a rock there. I knew that part very well as well. And I thought I knew I was going to have trouble getting around that corner. It was another corner I knew I was going to struggle with. There was a couple of bits coming down. There was a bit, when you come around, you turn a sharp right before you get there, and there's almost like an overhang of rock, but you do a sharp hairpin right, and it's very slick rocky. I was scared of that bit as well. But so I got to that bit. Once I rounded that bit, I thought, I'm going to be okay. Like I'm doing it. I've got it. I can nail it, and I hadn't, the confidence was just there then. And I just thought I can do it. I think, and I haven't done anything high since, but I think I've got a lot more confidence now. And I think I can go and tackle a lot of other things now. And I know I'll be able to do it. I don't know if someone's driving a car and I'm in it, it would be the same. I mean, I think I have to be in control, but I think I'll be able to not miss a lot of things now because, and it's a shame I worked this out at 63, but I'll be able to do a lot more things now, I think, and it's given me that confidence. I mean, still coming out of Bright Angel, I had to look into the corner and not look at that big cliff over on the right-hand side, but
on North Kaibab, I mean, just so everyone knows, if you haven't done this hike or maybe you're not familiar with North Kaibab, when you come across Redwall Bridge, it's shortly thereafter that this section that Char is talking about happens. And we are talking about a trail that is carved into the side of a gigantic cliff. And this goes on in sections for a very, very long time. It is the most iconic part of North Kaibab. This is the one that you see pictures of, and you really can't even tell that there's a trail carved into the cliff. And it's a long way down. But, like I always say, as you know, that just stay on the trail. The trail is wide, and there's just nothing to worry about on North Kaibab if you're not scared of heights. Even if you are scared of heights, again, the trail is wide, and it sounds like you found good ways to combat that with your pole bracing you on the left where the cliff was, and you were still plenty far away from the drop-off. There are a lot of sections of North Kaibab after Redwall Bridge where it is like that, and you're gonna be faced with those drop-offs. But it sounds like you never thought that you were in any danger. Is that fair, or was it just struggling your way through it, grinding your way through it, knowing you had to get through it?
I think that's fair. I don't think once I got there I thought I was in any danger. I think I was being practical and trying to be logical and saying to myself, the trail is wide. And I'd heard that so many times. And, on videos and YouTube videos, trails always look narrower than they are. And
Sure.
I knew that. And knowing that helped me. I'd watched people, on videos when they pass people. And I thought, there's plenty of room there. Don't be stupid. You can do it. And it's wide. So I just kept trying to talk myself the whole time, mentally. I had a conversation in my head pretty much the whole way. Where it was like that. I mean, from Manzanita, I rested, I didn't have to worry. But up to there, I knew, and I had a dialogue in my head the whole time. And I was talking to myself, saying, you've got this is okay. And, just don't look over there. And, oh, how beautiful is it? Trying to distract myself. And I would say it's my favorite part. And I don't know if that's because I did it and I feel so just shocked that I did it as well. In saying that, I knew I was going to do it, but making it a reality is a completely different thing as well. So I just think, I think it's my favorite part, that and the box. I loved the box. I just loved it.
Well, when you got to Manzanita, when you finally got to Manzanita, which is essentially the base of the North Rim, that's where the descent ends on your way down and where the climb begins on the way up.
Yeah.
But when you got to Manzanita, I assume you knew that, because you've done so much research. You knew that you were essentially at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. And
how did that feel? You had to feel so proud of yourself, and so that had to be a feeling of elation, knowing that you had conquered that. Because I can't imagine, even though I don't have that fear of heights, I can only imagine for someone that does, that there are very few tests in the world that would be a bigger test of your fear of heights than what you had just accomplished.
Yeah, look, to be fair, once I saw Roaring Springs, I kind of knew I was almost done. And I think that's when I pretty much in my brain, I celebrated. In my head, I got to Manzanita, I've done it. This is it. I don't care. I've got to hike another how far. I'd won. I nailed it. I'm done. Nothing else matters now. I can just, it doesn't matter. And I had my celebration there. And I must admit, when I came out at Bright Angel, I was a bit like, oh, I'm done. Oh, and I didn't have much emotion. I was really proud. I was like, oh, cool. Look at, you look back, and I thought, oh, that's amazing. And I was so proud of, my husband and my daughter who'd, she'd been a rock to us both. And I just thought, I was more excited when I got to Manzanita, I think.
Yeah.
Or Roaring Springs and Manzanita area, because I knew I'd done the bit I feared the most. I knew there was going to be other bits that were not pleasant for me. But with those, they're more of a slope, and you can see the switchbacks below. So, if you fall, you're probably going to fall to that switchback, kind of in my brain. That's what I kept telling myself, and it was probably not true in some of those sections. But, I sort of thought, once I got there, I'd pretty much nailed it.
So how much better did that make the next 8.5 miles to
it was great.
to Phantom Ranch, right?
It was great, and I loved
it. The hard part was over. You probably enjoyed it a lot more from that point, didn't you?
I enjoyed the whole thing, but I felt relaxed. More, I just sauntered, I wasn't in any rush. Oh, and my daughter's saying, Mum, we have to get a wriggle on. We're going to be in the box in the hot part of the day. And I went, no, I don't care. It's okay. It's all right. Don't worry.
After what you've been through, yeah.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And we got to Ribbon Falls, and I said, are we still going to do Ribbon Falls? And she said, yeah. And I said, yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm probably a one and done. I probably should do Ribbon Falls. And I went, yeah, let's do Ribbon Falls.
Are you in our Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group yet? Well, join today and learn all the tips and tricks and hear about others' experiences on Rim2Rim and beyond. It's totally free. You'll have daily access to me, Coach Arnie, and just about every guest we've ever had on the show. All there to help you have your best possible Grand Canyon experience. Join the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group and be inspired and informed, and get yourself Grand Canyon ready.
So we did Ribbon Falls, made sure we got
Was it worth it?
Oh, yes. Yeah. We were all so glad we did Ribbon Falls. And it was easy to find. I mean, for her, because she was in front saying, come this way. And I'd read a few things on the best way to enter from the north, and that's about 20 meters north of where the sign is that says Ribbon Falls, where the old bridge was. So I knew to go in there, and we knew to just sort of keep going across until we found the trail, or some, little goat trail, and follow that through. So we just did that, and it was fine. Yeah, it was great. I didn't want to leave there. I was like, I could just stay here now. I'm done. I'm at Ribbon Falls, done the Eye of the Needle. I'm good to go. Yeah, it was great. I'm so glad we went. And I think, although it'd be tempting to do it next time, I'd probably next time be more about just getting it done a little bit faster, because I've sauntered now. I've enjoyed it, and I've soaked it up. And that was a completely different thing as well. I didn't want to get down there and just be like, zoom, and then at the end go, oh, I didn't sort of soak it up. I wanted to absorb it. I wanted to feel it. And that was a big part of wanting to get down there for me, was I wanted to be down with that, those 2 billion year old rocks. I just wanted to soak that in. So I didn't, and I wasn't in any hurry. I just was happy to just wander, and I looked at everything. I stopped, I took photos. Sometimes we'd stop and just chat with people, and we saw a helicopter come to rescue a lady, that had done her knee. And so, we had to get off the path actually where we were, because where the helicopter wanted to be. And he was like ushering us, and I'm like, what's he doing? And they're like, oh, he's telling us to move that way, because we were standing there just watching him, but he needed to land, because we didn't know there'd been a lady that had hurt herself, of course, at that point. We just went further down the trail.
And you said you enjoyed hiking through the box, huh?
Oh, I loved it. I had always intended to just count the bridges, and but I didn't even do that. I was too busy absorbing everything. And we went in the water, so we were wet obviously at Ribbon Falls, and then we got wet 3 times on the way down to the box.
Was it a hot
So
day?
yeah, it was pretty hot, 3rd of October. I mean, it was hot, but it wasn't. I don't think. I don't know. I don't think it was 40. I mean, it might have been. We didn't check the temperature, and I didn't care. I mean, I
So now
cared.
we got to do the translation. 40 Celsius is what Fahrenheit? Probably
100, I
what, in
think.
the 90s?
Yeah,
Something
I
like
don't
that,
know.
80s, 90s.
Yeah, it was
I don't
hot,
know.
and it was very, the heat in the box. It's very like an oven, like an actual oven.
Yeah,
I said that.
yeah,
I look at my oven. You can't see my oven, but yeah, it's like the oven, and I think it's just unrelenting. It's
yeah.
just constantly there. It's all around you. And we had frogtails. We didn't use them because we'd gotten wet in the creek so much, and we had the gossamer umbrellas. So that kept the sun off of us, and I didn't feel too bad. But we live in a tropical climate, so we're very hot where we live. So, days like that through summer, it's often 38 degrees Celsius, which I don't know what that converts to, but it's pretty
So
hot.
you started 4:45 in the morning. What time
Yeah.
did you guys get to Phantom about? Do you remember?
About 2:15-ish, I think, and you would have read my post. My husband hurt his back at Ribbon Falls.
Hmm.
Um,
How do you hurt his back at Ribbon?
well, when he crossed the creek, he tweaked his back getting out of the creek,
Oh
but he
no.
didn't say anything to us. And then when we were at Ribbon, we swam. He didn't swim, and I thought, oh, he doesn't like the water so much, but he didn't get wet. And I said, oh, you probably should get wet. He goes, no, I'm fine. But he was a bit grumpy, and I didn't twig that he'd hurt his back. Um, and then it wasn't until I think we were starting to walk out. We were going down. When you go to Ribbon Falls, you can head to the left around a great big boulder, or you can go to the right. Someone on the right-hand side said that they had come up that way and they thought it was easier, but we went up that little trail around the boulder and it was fine. He said coming back down from Ribbon Falls, oh, I'm going to go this way down the boulder. And I said, oh, I'll just go down the way we came. I know it. Like, I'm confident with that. So that's okay. So we wanted to go that way. He wanted to go the other way. So he went the other way and slid down this boulder, and it's probably 6 feet tall. I don't know. But he sort of landed at the bottom and he must have jarred his back. Anyway, and he mentions that only a little bit later. He says, I feel like my back is killing me. I must have hurt it. So I think he's tweaked it, and then it's spasmed. Anyway, so he's now walking like on that angle. You can see my hand
Wow.
on that angle to the left. So, and he had to keep stopping. So he's like, oh, my back. And he hikes much faster than me, and he's much fitter than me. I was supposed to be the weak link. Anyway, my daughter took the stuff out of his pack and she was carrying that. Not that we had a lot of stuff, and he just had his water bladder. And so we pretty much limped into Phantom Ranch with me thinking, he's going to get a helicopter out. He can't keep walking on that angle. He's like in agony. We kept stopping. Anyway, we got there and he said, no, I'm fine to go. So we were there, over an hour and a bit. I think we left there. We got to the Silver Bridge about 4. And he's like, no, I want to keep going. And I think in his mind, he didn't want to fail at it. He wanted to finish it,
Mm-hmm.
which I totally get because he'd also done training. And he wanted to get it done. And he's on a normal day, he walks so much faster than me. He's always so much ahead of me that I think he felt really bad that he was there to help me. And now we were sort of helping him. I had a couple of codeine, so I gave him a half, and he never takes that sort of medication. So I knew that would help him. But we didn't get to the top of the corkscrew till it was dark. So it took us that long. And it's not from fitness. It was because he had to just keep stopping. And he was like, I need to sit down. Or there's a couple of places. There's a great big slab of rock. I don't know if you've seen it on the left-hand side as you go up that path. And it's like a bed. It's just on the left-hand side. So it's a great big slab. It's like a kitchen bench. He laid on that for a while. So he took spots like that. So we didn't get to the corkscrew till it was getting dark. And I was thinking, this is going to be a long hike out. We got to have a soup.
Were you planning on finishing in the dark? Was that the plan from the beginning?
Yeah, because
okay.
I knew
so you were prepared for it.
Yeah, I knew I was going to enjoy it, and I was going to hike about 5 kilometers an hour, 3 mile an hour on the flat. I'm not running. I'm stopping. I want to look at everything, and I had no time agenda. I know I can walk a really long way. I've done it, obviously, in training, and I had walked a long way a few times before. I sort of thought, no, that's no problem. We'll just be done when we're done. And I had no intention of being rushed through any of it. I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to soak it up. And that's why I was there. I wasn't there to say I'd done it in a certain time. And I I mean, I sort of thought 17, maybe 19 with ribbon falls, but I had no idea that in the end it would take us as long as it took us. So we got to the top of the corkscrew, which to me was probably the hardest part, but we had kept stopping, and I think that was very tiring because Ashley and I, this is my daughter Ashley, and I would stand sort of thing when my husband would sit because, he'd just say, oh, I've just got to sit, and he'd like stretch it out, and then he'd lean on rocks and whatnot. But he was still bent at such an angle to the left. I can't even, my body doesn't actually bend that far to the left. So we were a bit concerned with him falling off the trail. So my daughter was behind him and I was in front with my torch, and I've got a big, big 600 lumens torch. So I was in front. So we got up to have a Supai Gardens, and there's benches there. And I said to him, just lay here, wait till you wake up. We'll have a sleep on this bench. You can sleep. And when you wake up, we'll speak to a ranger. We'll see what we can do. And if you're going to have to hike out, it'll be daylight. It'll be, we'll start again.
Canyon hiking can be hot and deadly, and shade can save your life. Be sure to plan your hike with our Grand Canyon Shade Tracker, a completely free tool that lets you see exactly where you'll have shade on your route every minute of every day of the year. Find the Grand Canyon Shade Tracker exclusively at brightangeloutfitters.com and hike your best hike.
Here's another half of codeine. I'm like the pharmacy, just drugging him up. So I gave him another, and it had been, ages. And he sat there for ages. We laid there for ages, and Ashley and I were a little bit antsy because we're starting to get cold. Although we knew we'd hike out late, we didn't expect we'd hike out to the next morning. So we didn't have puffy jackets. I think she had some long pants. I didn't. I just had short bike pants on and my sun shirt, which I thought in the morning when we started that's fine. I can be chilly for a little bit and I can be chilly as we end. But so it was starting to get that chilly period where you're like, oh, it's a bit cold, and I'm a bit wet, like my socks were a bit wet. And so I sort of thought, okay, well, we'll stay here. He goes, no, I want to keep going now. I'm ready. I'm right. I went, oh, no, you're not, but okay. And I was knowing what's to come, that last 4.5 miles. I thought, oh, this is going to take a lot of energy from us, almost, because we're going, it's hard. Anyway, so he started again. And at this time, I think, I don't know whether I had more of his stuff, and I'd taken the battery pack. We had a heavy battery pack as well, but we got to 3 Mile, and by this time, I don't know if it's like 11 o'clock now. So from Havasupai to 3 Mile took us ages. We just were walking so slow. The switchbacks, I don't think we were any slower on switchbacks than we were on the flat. That's like the comparison of how it was. And we got to 3 Mile, and my daughter and I looked up because, you could see people ascending and you could see the lights.
Don't look up.
Yeah, we could see where the lights went. And I said to him, yeah, we're not going to tackle that, because more for the fear that he was going to fall off. Like I knew he'd probably get there because he has the same, endurance and persistence, and he would do it if he wanted to do it. But I just thought, if he falls, we're screwed, because now it's dark too. And if he trips, how far is he tripping? I don't know. I don't know how stable he's going to be, because he was very unsure on his footing and very slow, like one foot in front of the other. You could see the pain in his face. Anyway, so we put him on a bench at 3 Mile, and my daughter had a little bivvy bag, one of those little fold-up aluminium alfoil bags type thing, not aluminium, alfoil type bag. So she put him in that. She said, here, Dad, I want you to lay here. And I gave him another codeine. So we'd already gone half a codeine. So we'd already done, I'm pacing out these little half a codeine, and I only had 2 codeines with me. Anyway, he laid down and put his head on his backpack, and he did fall asleep. So the codeine sort of was making him tired, because he doesn't take anything like that. And her and I just chatted. So a couple of people came and went. A lot bypassed 3 Mile in the middle of the night and in the morning. A lot of people just go straight past, and you see the lights come and you see the lights go, and we can hear them talking, because from 3 Mile you can hear everything. So we just sat there and chatted, and she was up on the rock wall and I was sitting at the end of the bench where his feet were, and we just chatted to people that came in. Anyway, in the early morning we were watching hikers run down, and we watched the lights come the whole way down. And I said to her, I think we should wake him. Or she said, I think we should wake him. And I said, yeah, I think it's time to get a move now. So a lady did come in, a couple of trail runners. They were doing a rim to rim to rim, and she said, "Oh, do you need any ibuprofen?" I said, "Oh, no, thank you. Look, we do have ibuprofen, and we had a couple of codeine, so we've been managed to giving them." I said, "We just can't wait to get to the top to get some real food and some fruit." And she said, "I've got a mandarine. Would you like that?" And just she actually handed it over and said, "I've got this." I think you call them a tangelo, or a different name, but
Tangerine, something like that.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
so we just went, "Oh my God." So we shared it, and we just thought we were in heaven because we didn't, hadn't had any fruit. Living on those bars, Cliff Bars and things is not much fun up to that point. And yeah, so we had, all the while we had food. We had plenty of bars and, goo, and we had enough of all of that stuff, and we could have lasted another whole 2 days probably. But we didn't have fruit. And so that was just, so good in the morning. 'Cause it's about 4:30, I think, a.m. Anyway, yeah, I don't think anyone minded that he was on the bench because no one ever came in to actually sit. People would sort of come up to the toilet and keep going because at that point there was not many people heading north. Only one group of 3 that laid on the floor and went to sleep for about 2 hours, and they had come from South Kabab, and they said to me, "I can't believe that they don't tell you how hard this is." What an understatement. I said, "No, I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty sure they do." And it was 11 o'clock, 11:30, I think they came in. No, maybe 12:30 they came in, but they'd come from South Kabab that morning. Yeah, so they got up after about 2 hours and kept going from their sleep on the floor.
So now you guys have been out there for 24 hours essentially, and you're sitting at 3 Mile Rest House,
Yep.
and you still have, and it's still dark,
3
and
miles.
you still have a long way to go. You still, that last 3 miles is definitely the hardest part of a north to south, rim to rim, coming up Bright Angel. So when do you finally decide, okay, it's time to go?
Well, it was, I don't know if it was close to 5 o'clock, 5:30. We said, we did have to get him up, and that took a while for him to sort of, I don't know, stretch it out and not, because when you first wake up and you're laying on a hard surface, you're going to be sore anyway. I mean, anyone would be. So it took us a while to sort of get him up, and he went up to the bathroom. We went back to the bathroom again. We had water. We checked. We had all our gear. We checked. We had electrolytes. We actually had a caffeine tablet, so we each had a half of a we're not, but we had a half of a caffeine tablet. I said, "Look, we got to get up here." And Ashley and I hadn't slept since obviously the night before, and that night I think we probably only got maybe 3 or 4 hours sleep, so were sort of running on adrenaline at that point. And I just said to her and him, "Well, yeah, we better get going." She said, "Yeah, we better get going." And yeah, so he sort of was a slow start for him, I think, but he was in so much pain. But he said, "I feel a bit better than I did the night before." So that had worked, thank goodness. And when we got to 1.5 mile, he had another rest. There's a rock wall at the 1.5 mile rest house, and he laid up on that rock wall for a while, and I think stretched out his back. And we just mulled around there for even, a while. And then once he'd done that, we started again, and we got up at 8:30 a.m. So
So you finally got up there at 8:30.
Yeah, 28 hours.
So after all
20,
that, so 20, what was it? 27,
28 or 27, yeah. Because I did quote, I think 28. My daughter said Mum was 27. So yeah, either way, I think it was a long way.
Well, let's look at the bright side, literally here. It takes you so long, and you get up to the top, and you're doing so in daylight.
Yeah, I know, right?
So you get to take your pictures by the Bright Angel Trailhead and all that stuff. So how was that when you guys finally surfaced? What was that feeling like for the 3 of you?
It was amazing. And my grandchildren, obviously, they'd driven around with their dad in the RV from the North Rim to the South Rim, and he'd put them to bed the night before, as my daughter had the Garmin, and she'd sort of said, "Look, we're not coming out tonight. Dad's in a bad way." And
so you had the Garmin inReach so that you were able to send text messages out so your family knew what was going on.
Yeah. And
boy, that had to be a blessing.
Well, yeah, it turned out to be the best thing we could have had, because my children in Australia, so I've got 4 daughters, all middle-aged now, but they were all waiting up. So it was the middle of the night here, and they were super stressed out, but they watched us track, and they could see the eye of the needle, and they knew, and were probably so excited when I got past it, because they were watching the whole thing, knowing, our mum's passed it. This is great. And then the next message they probably got was, oh, Dad's really hurt his back. So they all went, oh, no. So my kids are, a couple are engineers, one's a biomedical science, one's a nurse. They're all in action. So they've gone, oh my God, we have to book them rooms. They can't go back to an RV. We have to book them rooms on the North Rim. How do we pay for a helicopter? We have to get Dad out of there, and they're doing all these things in the middle of the night. And I'm like, I don't know why anyone was panicking. We were fine. But yeah, they were all like, no, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. Anyway, of course,
What a family.
Yeah, they were all going at action battle stations. But yeah, I think my son-in-law was here, and I think he maybe talked them off the wall and said, no, they're fine. They're okay. They've got the Garmin. They'll let us know if they need anything. And the other plan was my son-in-law could have hiked down to 3 Mile and then helped my husband hike out. But as it turned out, my husband didn't need any help to hike out. He just had to, every step was just going to be what every step was going to be. No one could help him do that. He just had to suffer through it. And he was pretty happy to get to the top. I was a bit like, but as we came around there's the bottom where you can see people at the Bright Angel trailhead. As you come out of those tunnels and things, you can see and you can look up. We could see my grandchildren, and they were blowing little whistles, and we could hear them. And they always said to him, Grandma, I'm going to blow a whistle when you come up. And I said, okay, all right, great. I'll wait and hear it. And we could hear them. And it was just, oh my God, That's when I got teary. Oh, see, I'm getting teary again. That's when I got teary because they saw us do it. We did this big thing. They can look across. They probably don't understand the distance, but they can see the depth. They can get a pretty good handle on that, especially the 7-year-old. And, he's riding to rock, so he was all over it. But, we could hear them, we could see them, and, we were just like, and my daughter just wanted to get up there. She's like, come on, hurry up, let's go. But we did stop there and speak to a ranger for probably 10 minutes because, she was talking to us and she was lovely. But yeah, as we rounded the last bend where you can look over and see the trailhead, we've got that on video, and you can hear them blowing the whistles, and they're, yay! And they were so excited. And there wasn't many people at the top when we got there because it was 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. But yeah, it was really cool. We were just so excited. But like I said, I kind of got to the top, and I didn't feel as good as I did when I was at Manzanita. So, yeah. Oh, and then the hard part was hiking to the RVs because they were over in the backcountry lot. So we had to walk over to those, and we went back to our campers, and we had lovely showers and had a 2-hour sleep, and our son-in-law made us a beautiful chicken and rice dish. We ate that, and then we all went out to the South Rim to have a look on the shuttle buses. So we had
you guys never stop.
Yeah, it was really good. Actually, we loved it. The kids were great, but yeah, getting up to the top was a huge. I was so proud of them, and I think proud of him persevering through the pain because I was like, I probably would have thrown in the towel. No, I wouldn't have. I probably would have kept going, but that pain going up there. But we felt great. Ashley and I both felt great. And in fact, the day after that, her and her husband hiked down to Skeleton Point because he had been in the canyon, of course, and they'd neither been to the South Rim ever before. So they hiked down to Skeleton Point and back up, and we watched the kids. And I think they were very tempted to go right down to the bottom, but I think logic was like, oh no, it's probably not the smartest thing to do.
Down is optional, up is mandatory. They were going to find out, weren't they?
Yeah, well, he's a cyclist, seriously cycles a lot, and long distance and stuff, but yeah, no, he hadn't trained for it. So I don't know whether he had the right muscles happening, but they both would have had sore legs when they came out, but they both loved it. They said but they were tempted to keep going, and they knew better. They thought, oh no.
Well, they probably been bitten by the bug as well. So what do you think when you finish this and you look back on this incredible experience, and to realize what you overcame on that 28-hour adventure? I mean, starting with your paralyzing fear of heights.
Oh, yeah.
You overcome that.
Gosh.
You have an unexpected injury, and the unexpected can always happen on a Rim2Rim. In fact, it's probably always going to happen on a Rim2Rim. Probably not to that level, but it certainly can. But you have the unexpected injury that your husband suffered, and so you're out on the trail so much longer than you think you were going to be. and you overcome and persevere through all of this. So looking back on it, what is the biggest lesson you think that you learned?
Biggest lesson. That's a tough one, but I think you control yourself. No one else controls you, and if you allow that, you're a bit silly. But you control mentally what you do, and you have the will. That's all in you to do whatever you want to do, and I think you can achieve it. But in saying that, you have to plan, you have to prepare, you have to do training, physically and mentally to do whatever it is you want to do. Whether it's a rim-to-rim or something else. But you control it, like I'm in control of it. And I know that fear is something in me that I have to control, as hard as it is to do. I control it. So I showed it. I showed it. I control it. I felt so, I think more at Manzanita, so amazed that I had done the Eye of the Needle. That I thought the rest of it I've got. And, even coming up Bright Angel, we could see then because that was daylight. Although I was scared, it didn't really worry me. I mean, I was a bit uncomfortable, but I had those hiking poles and they seemed to be doing it for me because I thought I wasn't going to fall sideways or backwards or anything. But, I think the mind really controls everything, You just have
And
to have the right mindset.
There's also a wonderful family story here that maybe you take it for granted. I don't know, because it sounds like you have an incredible family. And
yeah, for sure.
The fact that the three of you are hiking together, your daughter, your husband, and you, and they're helping you overcome this fear that you have, and they're right there with you to support you. Mm-hmm. Then your husband suffers his injury, and you two are right there to, slog through the rest of the hike with him. And it doesn't sound like there was any consternation or bickering or arguing. It sounds like you guys were simply there to support each other no matter what was happening. That's an incredible tale, because I know I speak for a lot of people that if things are going wrong in a family on a hike like that, there can be a lot of finger pointing and people getting angry and annoyed with each other. It doesn't sound like any of that happened with you. And then to bring it full circle, you finish and they're at the top, your grandkids waiting for you, seeing what not only you accomplished, but what your husband accomplished and what Ashley accomplished.
Yeah.
And then you've got your daughters on the other side of the world springing into action when they realize that you guys are going through something. So what an amazing family story you have to tell as well. You must be so proud.
Oh yeah, I'm beyond proud of them all. Like it goes without saying. I think anyone that knows me knows they're the center of our universe, those kids, for both Danny and I. Yeah, I mean, as soon as I said that I wanted to do this, they're like, Mum, you can't go by yourself. And I said, no, Dad will be with me. Dad probably won't end up going. So so right from the beginning, Ashley was coming, and, she'd never been to America, never had actually wanted to go to America. Didn't even want to go. Wasn't in her, it was probably in a long distance plan, but she had other sort of, places she would have gone first. And she said, can we do it the year after, Mum? I want to do, this place and this place. And I went, for me, it's now or never. Like, I need to get it done. And I think in my brain, I knew it had to happen now, But they were there to support right from the beginning. So, I mean, it's not only, and I think someone's mentioned it before, it's not just the hike, they're not supporting you on the hike. They're supporting you on the lead up to the hike,
Sure.
It takes a year. For me, logistically, I had my children trying to book me a room from Phantom Ranch as well. They were trying to also book me into camping spots for all over, in the on other recreation.gov, for other campsites in Moab and other places. But because of our time frame distance, that was a 1 a.m. we had to be up to book it in, because when they open, it's not our time. So they were all helping do that. They've all come on different walks with me. But Ashley, once she committed, she was on all of our hikes with us to train. So, she took out, a whole of a Saturday when, you're working, you only get Saturday and Sunday with your kids and they're little. She would take out sometimes half a day, sometimes 3/4, sometimes the whole day, because we'd be hiking. Sometimes we'd incorporate that into a ride. So the kids would meet us and they would ride their bikes with their dad. But yeah, she'd be away from her family. So that's pretty cool to think that spend time with her, support her old parents, she would do that because she's 38, she's got a life of her own and a really busy career. But yeah, she took that time out, and I really appreciated that.
Well, Shar, what an incredible story to tell on so many levels. I'm so grateful that you were willing to come on and share with us. And I'm also incredibly grateful that you're such an active part of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group, because you have so much insight that you can offer. And I know you share in our mission to just help everyone have their best possible experience below the rim. And I hope that continues. It's amazing that we're talking, and you're on the other side of the world right now in Australia, and I'm in Arizona. I love that part of it because technology is just so darn cool. But more than anything, it's just hearing your story and your husband's story and Ashley's story. And I know that our listeners and our group will find incredible value in it. And you should be so proud of yourself for everything that you overcame, and you stood strong, and you were standing strong at the very end of a 28-hour rim to rim with getting your picture taken at the Bright Angel Trailhead. And I guess the last thing to just say to you on so many levels is, besides thank you, it's congratulations, Shar. You did it.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you back here.
Thank you. Won't be too long, and we'll be back. Well, I'll be back, at least.
And as mentioned, Sharlene is a very active member of our Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group, where she is known as Shar Shacky. Will she and her family be back? Well, you can count on it. Way to go, Shar. You are an inspiration. Well, we're still a few months from Rim to Rim season, but you can already feel the energy as folks start to train hard for their hikes. When that happens, foot problems can suddenly strike. And Coach Arnie has some ways for you to deal with them when they do.
It is early in the training season for a lot of people, although it's early February when I'm doing this. So if you're going in May, you've got to pick it up a little bit here. But I want to talk to you about something today that I'm getting a lot of feedback and questions about, and that's plantar fasciitis. And I'm a big advocate of building strength from the ground up. So here we go, because we got to take care of those feet. And your foot problem, your feet problem can torpedo your trip. Okay, so let's take care of that. I'm going to give you 4 simple things that I believe all of you can do and all of you should do. There are more things, but these are simple things that I think will help to at least get you going and push you in the right direction. The first thing is, you may have seen a video I've done on what's called yoga toes. And all it is you're trying to get the muscles in your feet to work better. So the first thing I have you do is, standing up barefoot, try to lift that big toe off the ground without the other toes. That means you've got to push the other toes into the ground and lift the big toe up. And you want to try to do that at least 10 times. And you're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to spend some time on it, because if you're like me, I couldn't do it for a while, but I had to practice and do it. And then once you can do that, lift the other toes while you press the big toe into the ground. And you can do that 10 times on each side, and then work up to 2 sets of 10. And let's get those feet stronger. So let's practice the yoga toe. Number 2, I like to call it what I call the modified spring foot. That means you stand on both your feet, you barely lift the heels off the ground, and you put pressure on your toes. I promise you, if you do this 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, you can do this all day long. You can do this every day. You will build those toes up, the feet, the strength in those toes. And you need that if you're dealing with plantar fasciitis. You need that. The third thing is, you got to build those anterior tibialis muscles. Those are the muscles on the front of your legs there, the lower legs. It actually wraps underneath your foot. It'll take pressure off your calves. It'll take pressure off your Achilles tendon, and it will take pressure off the bottom of your feet. But you got to work them hard, whether you're doing them daily without any weight or with weight, maybe couple times a week. But you've got to work the anterior tibialis hard to take that pressure off your feet. And then the last thing, the fourth thing, is what I call a 2-minute stretch. And for those of you that have a slant box, your toes are up, you stand up nice and tall, and you stand there with your heels and your entire foot on the box. And I do that with all my clients for 2 minutes every day, or every time they're with me. I do it 7 days a week. I stand on that box and I hold a good, nice, tall posture with my whole foot on that box. 2 minutes. And I promise you, those 4 things We will push you past this problem, but you got to do them on a consistent, regular basis. All right, guys, there's your first tip on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude podcast. I hope it helps. And as usual, if you have any questions, you can just get a hold of me. Love you guys.
That's Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr. He's an exercise physiologist by trade and a valuable asset to our entire community. If you have questions, send him a text or give him a call. Yeah, really, I mean it. His contact information is in the show notes. All right, that's it for now. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and savor every step in the magnificent Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.